Okay, welcome everyone, and what's up? I hope everyone's doing very well. And this is our London to New York crossover. We've got the Harmonic Scanner to look at, and as you know, I look at pitchforks. We've had an announcement in the UK today about Bank of England interest rates. So the first thing we like to do is check our news. And if you're new on the 7-day free trial, then make the most of the units in the Financial Freedom Movement group, and then try and get on some of the sessions. It might appear like it's a foreign language. I know it was to all of us on here who've been in for some time, but the fog does genuinely clear over time, and it is actually great fun to do. And given the Bank of England's announcement this morning, apparently that it's been or is the worst recession for 300 years, I mean, that must take us back to the Boston Tea Party and the American Revolution. You know, I mean, it's just quite phenomenal. So I applaud you all, I applaud us all for finding Forex and for sticking at it, because it really does make you feel that you can have some control over your life and help other people to replace, you know, we're not allowed to make any disclaimers, and past performance doesn't indicate future profits. We're not allowed to talk percentages or show anything flashy or show our results, but it does give you hope that you can replace, if you want to become a full-time trader. I was thrown into having to be a full-time trader and really stick at it because my apartment's closed by the government. Now, fortunately, I'm in receipt of a grant from the government, so that's good. But, you know, it's not going to be easy. I certainly don't want to have holiday makers from abroad or traveling over the 100 kilometers coming into the apartments upstairs. So this is what I do, and I'm now a full-time trader, and I teach other people, and this is what I'm sticking at. Some of you may have jobs and be wanting to get to that position. So if you want to get to that position, then you need to really focus. It is about grinding it out a bit at first, every spare moment, looking at the charts and practicing and that kind of thing. But what it's about, Forex is the one thing where less is more, because if you try and wring it out and overtrade and get tired and keep bashing out the trades, your results won't necessarily improve and continue to compound the way you want them to. It's about focused, alert, intense, I want to say sort of pleasurable, but you know, you're coming onto it like you're coming out to play your tennis or your football at weekends or to dominate your sport. It's that kind of attitude, and you come into it as if it's work. You get what you need out of it, and then you leave it alone till the next day and you work your percentages out. And that's the way you will find consistent improvement over a period of time and get the growth that you want on the account. So let's have a look at our news. We had 8 a.m, all this GBP, Great British Pound, with the interest rates. So notice they did it early. Now, normally they do it at midday, and it's obviously going to reflect in the charts. And that we've got USD again, unemployment claims coming up into this call in 20 minutes. So that affects trading an hour either side. And then, of course, we've got 4 p.m, that's my time, 3 p.m. when Sharon comes on, your UK time. We've got the President of the European Central Bank, President Lagarde, Christine Lagarde, speaking. Now, she has been one, I think, that hasn't gone, I can't remember the politics, so I better not talk about it very much. I can't remember which side she's on, but the northern, richer European states are not keen, Holland and Germany, on producing bonds to help the southern poorer states that are really affected, like Italy. Coupled with that, Germany court ruling on Tuesday, which came out in the morning, ruled that the European Union's got 3 months to justify its public spending plans. Otherwise, they're not going to continue to support it. So there's fractions appearing in the euro, or in the European Union, I should say, because I don't know, I don't want to predict what happens with the currencies, but a lot going on politically, a lot, as you can imagine. So we need to watch our charts carefully, always exercise proper risk management. And personally speaking, you know, I try and go for those fewer pips, not just to kind of grab them. We want to get that percentage gain, but because I think you will see it in 2 of the trades we looked at yesterday. In a minute, I'll go through them. And then Friday, of course, we've got non-farm payroll. I certainly do not trade. A lot of us don't trade on the Friday. And the market, as Paul says, you know, it'll be kind of clenching itself as it comes up, gears up towards that, because obviously it's going to be not good tomorrow for the US economy. I think it was 20 million people unemployed for the April figures. So that's everything outside of agriculture. So be very wary with your trading this week. So once we've looked at that, we then come on to I didn't notice a lot of new scans last night, but when you, or if you join us, our main portal is here in IM Center. Now we spend most of our time in our Ninja Forex traders group for members only, and we've spent 3.5, nearly 4 years building that up into units, and a lot of members in there contributing. And I suggest you keep it close to home and go through what's in the Ninja Traders units, because it's more accessible. You can talk to us about questions. These videos in here, this is what you're paying for in the academies. Very, very good little 5-minute videos, some of them a bit longer. Then under here you've got so go through those, but you don't have to grind your way all through them. You know, just I learn by doing. Just on your demo account, just learn by doing, and you'll be fine. And then focus on a strategy that you like, and you only need one strategy to be successful. Don't mix strategies too much. So this is the Harmonic Scanner. We take the scans, plotting reversal points, off any of these brokers down here. It doesn't matter which broker you're with, they're all very similar. I use Traders Way mostly because that's the main feed. So there's a new, and I use the hour time frame analysis. That's a very small one. I'm not going to draw any today, but this is only, oh, that's 246 pips. So that is a very good scan on Euro Ward, Australian dollar. But because I doubt we'll take any trades today, I will draw it if anyone wants me to, but sometimes I know people get a bit impatient if they see me sitting drawing the scans, but I'm just going to make a note of the points. So that's Euro, Australian dollar, H1. Make sure your time frame down here, bottom right, is in your local zone. So I'm outside Paris, so you want to just click, that's UTC +2. So I'm just going to write this down, use the vertical line. The points must be exact, then the pitchfork's valid forever, because they're mathematically based. They're built on Fibonacci magic numbers. So that's the 30th of April. It says 0430, but that's because it's American. They've put the month first, so I always transpose it. 07000. The A point is going to be 4th of the 5th at 0100. I sound a bit peculiar, it's just my British ways. B is 0605 1400. C is, and I've just realised something else we need to look at on this one. I'll do it in a minute. 0705 midnight. And D, and then you're going to copy and paste. This is join the dot strategy, easily duplicatable, and that's why Chance and Samantha developed it. So has that gone up? Yes, it has. It has to go up a minimum of 20 pips for it to solidify. Now you can take the scanner entry. It depends on your appetite for stop loss. So something like 166799 down to there. That's not right. Trying to grab. Oh God, that's huge. That's like 16665 516. Hang on, I've got this in the way. What we'd like to do is put something called 25 to life on here, which gives us a lower stop loss down to the D point. so we see what we can see on the rest of our pairs, but what you're trying to do is reduce your stop loss to increase your risk to reward ratio, because it depends on your appetite for risk. We never risk more than 1%, 2%, or 3% on our account. That keeps you safe. So I like to stick with smaller stop losses, which means I need precise entries. Let me just double check if there's anything else. That's another shark down here. We had a couple of sharks. So that is working its way up on that one. And that, I think that was fewer than 80 pips, which is, yes, I didn't draw that one because it's 58, 60 pips. And just look at that last one, which is Euro JPY. It's quite a shallow scan. It's kind of only hit the TP, just shy of the TP2, and it's gone back up. And I don't know if I drew that one. 47, no I didn't, because it was a smaller scan. So the only one I've got out of that is the Euro ORD. Sometimes you find some 80 pip minimum ones on here. And that is GCAD M15, that's a shark. And that is actually a bigger one, but it hasn't solidified yet. With sharks, we wait for it to come to the second entry point or midway between that and take profit one before we get in. And there's that Euro ORD appearing there. So nothing else on the scanner that I want to go through. So once we've done that, what I wanted to do was just show you briefly the two trades that we looked at yesterday. So this was the Euro GBP, and I left my markings on this because you can see the green lines. It was in the outer extensions of this scan. We were looking at it over here when I was on live, and I said, wait for that break and retest. I had it because it had come off, well, I didn't know it to come off the scanner at the time. I was kind of looking for it afterwards. There's the Euro GBP there, which is that, I wonder if they disappear off the end. So if it's gone off the end, I won't be able to show you Euro GBP. I'm looking for when the last one was drawn. It's disappeared, which is another reason I draw them on. Doesn't matter. No worries about that. If anyone's got any questions, I'll just go through these two. Please feel free to ask. And then at the end as well, I'll stop sharing just before 2 p.m. your time. So remember, we've got news coming up. So I said wait for that break and retest off that extension, which is why I was coming in lower than the scan at the time. I'd got quite a tight stop loss, but what happened was, obviously it stalled out. It decided to go up, stalled out in New York all the way through, and black is when markets closed, green is open of Tokyo, carried on rising. Now this could have been, I have no idea, of course, I'm only speculating. It could have been because of the Bank of England announcement, because the markets obviously will have been jittery, will have been discussing it. So maybe they pushed the euro up because they knew they were going to crash it, and that, you know, they knew what the kind of announcement was going to be from Bank of England, and also they know that President Lagarde in the European Central Bank, Christine Lagarde, that is speaking this afternoon. So all that will have been in their thinking as they come into the markets opening in London, which is the yellow one. And then as London opened, this is the euro, of course, against the GBP. The euro's gone down against the GBP. So that was when the announcement, that's when the Bank of England announcement was, towards the end of Tokyo. And obviously the pound must have gone up a bit, I suppose, because this is me selling the euro. So could we have got some pips out of this? Well, the problem is, of course, we had all this news stuff going on here, which is why we don't trade Fridays when we've got the non-farm payroll. And if we move this across, I had this at entry at 289. 289. So oops, that's 288. That'll do. Let me just minimize the chat. So if you had got in over here, well, we wouldn't have, would we? Because it went up here. But if you thought, okay, is there still going to be a setup on this when Euro GBP, which is the London pair, opens? Is it going to come back into the scan? Because certainly that's what I was keeping an eye on. And then you thought, well, shall I take these same settings? What am I going to do about this? So it comes down at open of London and hits that pitchfork. Well, that's good because it rejects off there perfectly. And comes back up, and then it decides that it doesn't want to come out of the scan, and now it's testing the 15. So it looks to me like it is now working its way down, but you couldn't have done it on a 10 pip stop loss. Now, some of the faster ones, like some of the Euro NZD, which is a 10 anyway out of 10 in speed, we're now doing 15 pip stop losses because they're so fast. So if you had decided to have a bigger stop loss, you would have got your 20 pips. If you had come in, that's where I would have come in, where it crossed under the orange line. So to done a break and a retest here off that pitchfork, and then come under the orange line, and that would have given you 15 pips. And then it gives you another entry up here because that's another break and retest. It comes out. But that one's more risky because it quickly comes down and then goes up. So you would have had to have been very smart keeping an eye on that one. But there was another, I think that'd be 14 pips there. So if you'd waited till it dropped under there, kept an eye on it, saw to meet, oh, it's 10 pips. So you would have got 25 pips out of that in about an hour, but you would have waited until open of London. So I think the lesson from that is look at what your hot pairs are for each session. London's the biggest global session. You'll get some nice little quick moves normally just before open, and then depending on how much profit you've made, you can put a quick stop profit in somewhere on a trade at open of London and see if you can then get it to 10 pips. Put your stop profit there and see if you can hit a home run of 50 pips, because that's sometimes what I try to do. Bag 10 or 25 just before open of London, then see if I can get a big one in London. So your hot pairs for London are Euro GBP, Euro GBP and the Swiss franc CHF. For New York, which is the second biggest session, obviously it is a US dollar and Canadian dollar. And then for Tokyo session, which normally only moves in a range of about 20 pips, is the slowest session of all. And those three pairs are AUD, Australian dollar, NZD, New Zealand dollar, and JPY, Japanese yen. Okay, so the other, I'm going to just come out of that, although the system doesn't seem too slow today. So the other one that we looked at yesterday was the let me just find my figures. Right, Euro NZD. I love this pair. I've learnt that from Chance on Channel 20, and his psychology call last week, he does it every Thursday, that's 7 p.m. UK time. Absolutely fabulous call. I should be on tonight. It's a call I never miss. And last week's call was really, really brilliant about persistence and consistency, and how to approach the charts, how it shows you and reflects back who and what you are, because he always says what's happening in your life will be reflected in your trading results, and that's why you have to work on yourself and your personal development when you're learning to trade. So do get on that if you have a chance anytime, or watch the replays. So there's some extra white lines on here, which is a fib. So I'll just change that to yellow. Just have a quick discussion about this.
Sarah.
Oh, yeah. Hi, Connor.
I was watching. Hello, you're right. I was watching Chance and Sam this morning, a little bit last night. They used 2 pitchforks. Do you do the same?
Do you mean the first and second pitchfork?
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
Use both of them. Okay.
Yeah, I'll see if I can find you an example. There might be one on that. That might have been a second pitchfork on the euro one, I think. Let me just go back to that.
They're pretty much just some just fancy support and resistance lines, aren't they?
Exactly that. Yeah, absolutely. They are aggressive trend lines because you can draw trend lines anywhere. So the difference is with the pitchfork is because it is actually drawn on the harmonic scan, which has already plotted the Fibonacci reversal points, because each different shape, Gartley, bat, butterfly, or whatever, is based on different Fibonacci levels, different percentages, which is what gives them the different shapes. So you've got all that Fibonacci built in. Then you put the pitchfork onto the scan, and therefore you've got the Fibonacci built into the pitchfork. So it's all based on mathematics, which makes it an aggressive trend line, magic numbers, highly accurate, which is why people get a bit bored and they go, oh, what's she doing? You know, when I'm fiddling around on the 1 minute magnified to get the point exactly on the nearest candle. But once you've got it on accurately and locked them on, they are valid forever. And we've traded off pitchforks which are like 300 days old, and we do check to see that they're still valid, that the price, you know, has hit them along various points. You've got the touches, but they are valid. They are valid forever. So if the scan is down, if Vibrata's down, I'm not just taking one trade off the D point. Chance always goes through an example, and off one scan, you can take, for say, the example he shows on his PowerPoint presentation is up to 13 trades, because you can move up and down the levels. So that's what I like about it. I can always trust the pitchfork and know I've got a trade. So if I come to the 1 hour, let's see if this was yes, it was a second pitchfork on this one. So the original pitchfork must be that one, is that white one. So if I just fade this out for a moment. So the scan where that's the D point, it was a buy scan, so it did complete the scan right up to that quarter theory, which again is an aggressive line of support and resistance, stalled out, came back down, stalled out. You see how it stalls out on the levels? Price always moves between levels. Stall out there, straight down there, reject there, stall out there, reject with some slippage up above there, trying to get up further, but it couldn't make it, stall out, etc., etc. Nice rejections down there, stall out. That's how powerful quarter theory is. So it's worked its way back, but then it started, in fact now actually it's starting to come back into that scan. So I'll switch back into that scan. But at the time yesterday when we were looking at that trade, oh, maybe that's what affected it as well, because it was at the cross point of 2 scans. I think I've just learnt something there. Be more wary of that. So if I hide that and just bring this up just to show you how I decide how to actually draw them. So what you do is go back to your pitchfork, put it on the hourly, if it's an hourly scan, put it in the middle of nowhere, anywhere, and then get it on X to A, X to A. Normally on the first pitchfork we'll be doing C to D, so it's going to go the opposite way. Then it's going to be lined up. You can see I've lined it up here with the X point. It's going to be lined up with either the C or the D. So you put it on X to A, then go down to the 1 minute to make sure that it is on the nearest candle on the 1 minute chart on the X and A. Lock it on and then go back to the 15 minutes, because that's where we look at our chart setups. on the 15-minute, and then fiddle around with it until it lines up. In this case, you want it on the C because it's the opposite, has to be the opposite direction to the original scan. Oops. So I'm not going to move it now, but it's no good if it's going in the same direction. It must be the opposite. Now it is okay also to have it as a best fit. So if you can't get the C or D lined up, then you can do a best fit. So how do you get a best fit? Well, even though it's lined up on the C, you know, it'll still should be a best fit. So what is a best fit? It's as many touches as you can get. And if you look here, I've got a touch there, then I've got all these touches here. So that's what I decided to go for. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 along there. So I really like the look of that. That felt comfortable. And then down here, it's touched down here. And then I had that one on the other side up there, just wick through there. There's a perfect touch there. And there's some touches there. So that's what I liked about it, and that's why I decided that was working well. Okay, so that's the second pitchfork. So if we just come back to briefly looking at this trade. So I think what's interesting to me, as I say, is it was something at a crossroads and it's decided to try and work its way back into that second scan. In fact, we could put that pitchfork on now, I just don't want to confuse us too much. Which is that white one. So I was working off the green one. I said if it does a break and a retest there, then we could go for the sell as it came down here. There's our risk to reward, so you can see the kind of price levels we're looking at. So it's come back, it's rejected off the extension of the original white scan, come up and stalled across the level, come down into the green one. So this is a peculiar one. And then it's coming back up into the original pitchfork, the original scan. But we also had the news hit us with the Bank of England. There's the same move on EN, rejected perfectly off the pitchfork. So that's why you've got to sort of think about the context of the trades that you're in. I like to work to that 10 pips. That would not have saved you here, even if you thought, well, okay, shall I look at the same setup? You would have needed a bigger stop loss, because I'll take this white one off because we were working off the green, just to understand the thinking. So on the green one, can we find that setup over here? Because remember, the market does repeat. Well, we've had the problem with the news because the market needs an hour to settle down again. So it came up above the 62. It gave us a little rejection here. We haven't got quarter theory to help us, which we like. And then, okay, we've got another rejection here, which is a good rejection, and under the 62. 3.1 million Americans applied for unemployment last week. So that's not going to be good for trading tomorrow. So there is a little trade. There's a little trade because you've had that break in the retest. You've got 2 confirmations. Then I would have put, if I've got 2 confirmations, usually I've got 3. I'm just not seeing it. So if I put a trend line on, remember one of our confirmations. Let me get rid of that. You don't need to see that today. Is a break and a retest of the 1-minute trend. So we have got that here, a nice big break. So that's one confirmation there, plus under the 62 there. And we could, what could we do for a third one? So break and a retest under the 62 and break and a retest under the 62 and the break and the 1-minute trend line break and retest. So you have got 3 confirmations. So you could have got in here. I'm looking at this point here, and that would have given you, say, 15 pips to there. Then it comes back up and it does the same thing again. So you've got the same confirmations. Same confirmations, because you could, if you draw a nut, you'll have, it's got the same setup. Whoops. Sorry, finger slipped on the mouse. There's a little wick there, but you have got the same break and retest as it comes under the 62 here. And remember, there's another thing. Remember, we're looking at on the hour there. So the hour, you will always get fake outs 10 minutes before the hour, which accounts for that spike. So it's about learning to read the charts. So you could have possibly had another 10 pips there very quickly, because you would have had to have looked at it stall out. There's a stall out on those two candles. And why would you have got out? Because you would have seen it's exactly at the point of the previous entry that you had. So I would have been out there because that's a double rejection. So I wouldn't have wanted to have thought, oh, it's going to go further. And I could see back here to reject it off that pitchfork down there. So that would have been me out, but that would have been, you could have got 25 pips there. So I'll just clean that up. And I'm going to be keeping an eye on that to see it moving back into that scan, but we don't know what President Lagarde's going to say this afternoon. So that was, how are we doing for time? That's fine. Euro GBP. So Euro NZD is an interesting one. I've got this orange fib on it. I can't remember now if I moved it because I was fiddling around with this last night. From there to there, because I was trying to do some back testing. Let me see if I can just remember what I was doing. So I was looking, I know I didn't move this orange line. So this was, I think this was the big scan. Our pitchfork's the one in white. I'll remove this, try and get rid of some lines so it's a bit less confusing. Let's just measure between pitchforks, so from that white dotted down to that extension. So that's right, it's a big scan. So at this point I'm looking for possibly quarter theory trades. So I said look at this break and this retest here, and it didn't give us that. It did a similar thing to the Euro GBP. It went up towards the close of market, and then we had the same news affected it here. There's a little spike down, not quite so much as the euro against the GBP, but that must be something to do with Bank of England rates coming out and saying it's the worst recession for 300 years, and President Lagarde speaking later, blah, blah, blah. So all that's coming into play with the bankers. And I've got another pitchfork on there. I can't remember why that's on there. See if I can hide that. Because it's the white one I was looking at. So I think I was doing some back testing. So when we look at this one on the 1 minute, we didn't get that move there, but was it worth it us keep thinking about it? Well, yes, because we've got the pitchfork coming through here and we like that. We've got it under the 62 there, and we had some rejections here off quarter theory as well. So we can see a nice downward trend. So if we've got in here, if we move this across 178, and let's see if I can keep that in the picture there. So you've got, if we move this trend line across, so there's your downward trend. It's not exactly clean, which is probably the news. It's not very clean. That might not be helping us very much on there. You could draw it something like that, or do that. You're looking for at least 3 touches. That's probably better, actually. So something like that. 1, 2, and 4, 5. I've got 5 touches there. So we could have got, that's 56 pips down to there. On the, I had the first level at 20 pips, then 35, then 55. So could we have actually got that out of this? Probably not so much, because we were looking to get in higher up, but it's a bit of a tricky one, because you had this drop down, which must be, whoops. Oh, it might have been an alert. I put on a particular level, sorry. That's what that orange line was. I'll have to switch it off later. So it's a bit, I think I'll take the fib off as well, because I think that's confusing us. Right, so we had it, that would have been a good entry here, because we've got it coming under quarter theory, under 62, and it's still a downward trend. But, you know, are you confident enough to take that? Because you've got to look at what other confirmations you have got. And we don't really get a clean break and a retest. We get a break and a retest up to the 62. So would I have got into the trade there? Probably not, because I would have then worried about the news and the market's settling down again, and it's quite steep. It's dropped down from the news, and usually I like it to come back up here, but it was you know, it was playing out in terms of the pips. So where's 20 pips? Oh, and I'll remove my remove these lines. We don't really need to see these. Make it a bit clearer. So it's a bit of a difficult one, because if you've got in here off that break, you haven't got enough really. You've got it under the 62 and a break and a retest of the pitchfork and quarter theory, but you've had a big drop in the news, so you don't want to be getting into a trade just, that's at 8 o'clock UK time. That's an hour or two after that great long drop down. So the market's still settling down. It could equally come back up the same amount. So not, because of that news, not a good time to be getting in. So you would have waited until it was under the pitchfork, it was past the news and under quarter theory, and then possibly have got in there. But I would have got in there, hitting the 62 down to there. How many pips is that? Which gives you 30. But whether I would have actually done that, I probably wouldn't, you know, probably wouldn't, because of it coming away from that pitchfork by, how many pips would I have given up? 12 pips. So if it had only been, if I'd only have lost out on 3 or 4 pips off the pitchfork to let price come under the 62, then I'll get into it. But 12 pips away, bit far for me to get into a trade. That's what I'm saying. So I wouldn't have actually done that one. And now it's coming back up to reject off that pitchfork again, so it looks like it's still wanting to come down. So that was the Euro NZD yesterday. I'll just tidy this up while I'm here. And we'll look at, let me just refresh my memory. So we've got that USD news was at 1:30 your time, 2:30 my time. So that's just happened. So I won't look at USD pairs. There's a GA. What's happening on GA? Get a clean sheet. Nothing on GA. Looked at EN, looked at EG. Sorry about the glitching. This is the pound against the dollar. We've just had the USD news, so we won't be trading. Let me just see if I can get quarter theory to behave itself. And I'll just take off, I think I've got a fib on there. Take that alert off. So looks like it's coming down to test that pitchfork again at the moment. But normally I'd say that looks like a nice sell to me. But if it rejects off there, it comes under quarter theory and under the 62. But I don't want to get into a trade because we've just had that USD news. That's 24 pips. But if you wanted to over, it's up to you. Normally we wait an hour after red flag news. But if you want to overlay your be your own bank, indicator you've got on that, see if you can get 5 pips, but only if it comes down under here. Looks like it's wicking out. So a little bit risky, but you could have a look at that one. So that's GU. Have I got any open that aren't? I haven't got any open that aren't USD. Let's have a look. NZD CAD. Nothing on that. It's coming up to pitchfork up there. It's just playing between the 62 and the 15-minute at the moment. Looks like it's working its way, trying to work its way down. What else do I want to look at? GCAD. Try the Canadian dollar ones. That was quite a nice trade. So you've got both pitchfork and I missed that because I wasn't trading. I was off doing other things, so I'll just take that off so you can see it. Excuse me. So you had you've got pitchfork and quarter theory together, which I really like. The orange has crossed over the 15 minutes, so you've got 3 confirmations tightly lined up there. And then you could have put on, sorry, wrong one. So I wouldn't have got in break and a retest there. How many pips would that have been? So you would have had to have had your 15 pip stop loss on a GBP pairs. So you could have, but then you did have there's the Bank of England announcement coming in there. That massive drop there. So it's gone 100 pips in about an hour. Just the open of London. And it's still on its way down. But so if you got in after it had settled down, but again, you see, it didn't really give you another break and a retest. You've had them over there. You've got more than a 15 pip stop loss going on there because it retested the 15. So again, you would have had to have made a decision whether you thought you were comfortable. Now, it may test that and then carry on down. So if it gives you another entry, I'd probably say do that, I think. But, let's put that at 15. And I'll put an alert there. Let's see if it goes off while we're on. I'll just put that over there. Because if it gives us another entry, which would be another break and a retest, then that's still below the blue one, the 15 minutes. So that's good for a sell. Settings. I just always set the profit at 20 there, and then I'll just change that. extend right line, then it stays in place no matter how long it takes on that level. Add the alert on. Okay, so GCAD, star against that. Anyone got any questions? Coming up to 10 to the hour. Last few minutes. Let's find another one.
Yeah, I've got one, Sarah.
Oh yeah, far away.
When I was watching Chance and Salmon, there's just like a bar chart in the background, so I was wondering how you use it.
Oh yeah, I do use it. That's our, let me go back to that GCAD one. It's a good idea. We use that for exits as one of our confirmations for exits, not for entries. I do sometimes check it for entries. So if we, it's up here, it's on your indicators. It is called MTFA, which stands for multi-time frame analysis. HMA, capital letters, W bands. I don't know what HMA stands for actually. And so if I switch that on, I'll just show everyone the settings. And it looks a bit like a candy shop, but the bands in the background are showing what price is doing on the 15-minute time frame. So it's been in a sell. It's a lagging indicator. So you can see it starts to move up before the red actually turns to green for 15 minutes. So it does lag by about 30%. So that's saying price is carrying on up. Then of course it's turned to red, but it takes it a bit of time to catch up because it's the 15-minute band. The price is shown going through the middle, as you probably can't see it very clearly with those bands on, but as green and red is actual current price on the 1 minute. So two flips of the hull and we're out the trade, but we don't count short flips. So if I'd been in this for a sell and then I see a short flip to green, that's fine, I'm not out the trade. A longer flip, I'm starting to get a little bit worried. And then there's another longer and then a third longer. So I'm probably thinking, and anyway, it's crossed above the 62. So I'd look at that as well. And quarter theory, it's rejecting off. So I'd definitely be out the trade at that point there. And then it's tested the 15 and it didn't like it. It's tested it again, but it's showing it's in a buy. So then it starts to move down again, but it takes it time to catch up. So you're kind of reading it like that because the line has already switched to red while the 15-minute, obviously, longer time frame is still in the green. Yeah?
Yeah,
so,
I get that.
Yeah, okay. So the settings for everyone are on here. It does, inputs, it needs a code, which is 29 for me. And then you click if you click that off, it would turn the bands off because that's the bands in the background. You turn the line to band and you want it on the 15-minute. We don't often check the 60-minute because we're not looking at that longer time frame, but you can look to see if I am in a sell and it's like red and green, I'll think, oh, I wonder if it is all red on the 60, and sometimes it is, but we're usually out the trade long before then. And then on style, we make these bands paler, otherwise you just be too bright in your eye to look at. Okay, so that's the hull there, and I'm just going to look at another Canadian pair, see if we've got anything. So I don't want to look at euro because of the EU talk this afternoon. This is Canadian dollar, Swiss franc. Not one I trade, and you can see that because I haven't even got a scan on it. I must remember I don't even have a scan on it. There are not a lot of scans on the Swiss franc, and this isn't one that I could trade, and I don't know why. Just either and I've been on virtually every call for about 14 months. I don't come on them all now on chances calls because I don't do the basic ones, but if we wanted him to draw us a pitchfork, he would. But I just don't seem to have any scans on that one. I've got one more that I have got a scan on for a Canadian one. Don't want to do Euro CAD. Swiss franc, Japanese yen. Probably not one I trade very much. It's outside, and it's outside my scan, and I've got nothing else on that. So I'm just waiting for it to come back up there. Plenty of other things to do. So nothing on that one. We didn't do OrdCAD. I quite like OrdCAD. OrdCAD is quite nice. It's a slow moving pair. It's about 4 out of 10. So if you're fairly new or you just want to be fairly patient with your trade, then this will move a bit slower. You feel a bit more in control, not quite so volatile as some of the GBP pairs. So we've got it, rejection of quarter theory up there, coming under this pitchfork here and working its way down. So how much is that rejected? That's a break and a retest of 6 pips, but it looks like it's kind of playing between the two. So it is a slower pair, so it might not move much. Few spikes up there. I don't know if that was news. And that looks like I had a fib on it earlier on. So what did it do down there? That was the fib I drew. And then it went up. So it decided not to do that. I'll take that off. So it went right up to quarter theory. So that fib is dead. So if we wanted to look at this now, it is in an upward. It's in an upward scan at the moment. Here. That's the scan it's playing in. And it has come down to the median. Usually I'll take the trade in the direction of the scan only, in this case a sell off that D point, until it's hit the median. Let me take that one off. And then I can do buy and sell. So you can see how it's respecting that. It's worked its way up and it looks like it's sort of coming back down. And on the 15-minute, it's in a little sandwich. It's in a price trap there in the wedge. So not one I would probably be looking at doing anything with at the moment till it makes its mind up. And it looks like on the 1 minute, the current trend, that it is dropping and doesn't like that wedge. So it looks like it is coming down to this level at the moment, but not really a trade for me because it's too far away from quarter theory. It's done a little break and retest, but it's just pinching between these two at the moment. So I'm not sure what it's doing and whether it is going to work its way down, but it looks like it's more of a sell at the moment than the orange wants to cross the blue. So that's quite good. So if it does another break and a retest, then, but it could, how long is it going to stall out before it, it's a slower pair. That's what I'm saying. So you've got the rejections, but you haven't got a 10 pip rejection off there at the moment. So that's OrdCAD, and I'm going to stop there, I think, today. Not a great day for me for trading because of all the news, and also tomorrow. So that's about me done for the week. And I should be on Chance's Call on Channel 20. I do thoroughly recommend it at 7 p.m. UK time, or watch the recording. So I'll just stop the share, and I hope that you found that helpful. Pause recording and stop.
Yeah, that's good.